My dear friends, Yoga Chuda Manyopanishad says, Prana Vidya Mahavidya Yastam Vedasa Vedavat. Friends, Prana Vidya is not an ordinary Vidya. Prana Vidya is an extraordinary super science. Friends, understanding respiratory system. Friends, Divya Rushi Sri Swami Shivananda says, respiratory system is the anatomical structure through which air moves in and out in the respiratory tract. Respiratory tract consists of nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. The lungs, it will not be out of place to mention a word on lungs and their functions. The organs of respiration consist of the lungs, one on either side of the chest, and the air passages that lead to them. They are located in the upper thoracic cavity of the chest, one on each side of the median line. They are separated from each other by the heart. The greater blood vessels and the larger air tubes. The lungs are spongy, porous, and their tissues are very elastic. The substance of the lungs contains innumerable air sacs which contain air after post-mortem. When it is placed in a basin of water, it floats. They are covered by a delicate serous membrane called pleura, which contains serous fluid to prevent friction of the lungs during the act of breathing. One wall of the pleura closely adheres to the lungs. The other wall is attached to the inner wall of the chest. Through this membrane of the lungs are fixed to the wall of the chest. The right lung consists of 3 lobes. The left lung contains 2 lobes. Each lung consists of an apex and a base. The base is directed towards the diaphragm, the muscular septum, the dividing wall between throat and abdomen. The apex situated above, near the root of the neck. It is the base that gets inflamed in pneumonia. The apex of the lung, which does not get proper supply of oxygen, gets affected by consumption. It affords favorable nidus or breeding ground for tubercle bacilli, TB. By the practice of Kapalabhati and Bhastrika pranayamas and deep breathing exercises, these apices get good supply of oxygen and thus feces is obviated. Pranayama develops the lungs. He who practices pranayama will have a powerful, sweet, melodious voice. The air passage consists of the interior of the nose, pharynx or throat, larynx or the wind box or sounding box, which contains 2 vocal cords, trachea or windpipe, right and left bronchi, and the smaller bronchial tubes. When we breathe, we draw in the air through the nose, and after it has passed through the pharynx and larynx, it passes into the trachea or windpipe, thence into the right and left bronchial tubes, which in turn subdivide into innumerable smaller tubes called bronchioles, and which terminate in minute subdivisions in a small air sacs of the lungs, of which the lungs contain millions. The air sacs of the lungs, when spread out over an unbroken surface, would cover an area of 140,000 square feet. The air is drawn into the lungs by the action of the diaphragm. When it expands, the size of the chest and lungs is increased, and the outside air rushes into the vacuum thus created. The chest and lungs contract when diaphragm relaxes and the air is expelled from the lungs. It is through vocal cords that are located in the larynx that sound is produced. Larynx is the sounding box. When the vocal cords are affected by too much straining, as in singing and continuous lecturing, the voice becomes hoarse. In females, these cords are shorter. Hence they have a sweet, melodious voice. Thank you, my dear.